The advertisement said, "There are some things you know, but you forget you know." There are things that make your life worth living, but you apparently forget them. Or you are too involved with things or with people or with your own mind state that you make life for yourself messy or miserable, or you surrender to some kind of mediocrity. Yes, you probably, most would want to say, "Of course I want a life worth living." They may even say they know what would make their life worth living. But they keep swerving off the main highway, straight into another cul-de-sac, straight into more distressing experiences, into those poisonous scorpion nests. But it's not good to be there, but that's where we end up. There are some things you know. Most of us would know and would name at least 7 things that would likely predict a better future. Of course, a good diet, plenty of exercise, low stress, good relationships, real enjoyments, a good environment, a significant amount of money. 7 things. We know them all. Of course. Oh, but I've left out one, haven't I? One critical factor: your mental health, your physical health, your personality health. Isn't it interesting? We could all write down those 8 things and still find that something is missing. What's missing? Well, of course, your behavior is missing. Your behavior reaction to other people's behavior. Your good habits behavior. Because bad habits behavior do not augur well for your future. Your non-destructive, non-aggressive behavior, that's what we want. But instead we get into hostile, hating behavior. Your prejudicial behavior. Your behavior that creates anger and anxiety in other people, in your environments, and in yourself. So something is missing. And we might know, yes, of course, something is missing. If I had that something, I would not be so miserable. I would be into the business of a life worth living. But such is life. We know that life comes with frustrations and stumblings and many falls. Today I read you 2 of the parables attributed to Jesus, 2 parables. And the central person in the story had plenty in both cases. But one thing was missing. Take the parable of the lost coin. The woman who had lost a coin. One thing was missing. The woman at the center of the parable, it says, had 10 silver pieces, but lost one of them. Now we could have said to her, as we often would say to people, "Well, you still have 9. That's enough. You can get through life with 9. Get on with your life." Of course, her story could have been your story. What do? We tend to blame somebody for what we lost. You blame anything, everything. But the really delightful and telling part of this story in the gospel is this. She knew that she'd lost something. She knew that she was the one who had to find it. She couldn't go on blaming other people. She had to find it. And when she did, do you remember? She called everybody to celebrate. Life is worth living. When you discover that you found something very important, celebrate it. In our world, it is not a lost coin. It could be a lost part of your personality. It could be a lost part of your good behavior. It could be that, like the woman of the parable, you've lost that part of yourself that could make life worth living. So don't get strung up with the detail or the literal meaning of the words. It's really talking about something deeper and more important. I've mentioned several times in earlier addresses Mahaley and Isabella Csikszentmihalyi's book. It's called, they're two psychologists, it's called A Life Worth Living. And there it is. Other people are now writing about it. I've also mentioned to you at some considerable length the various writings on flourishing, various books on the subject. Recently, the New York Review of Books ran an article on what is a good life. And Dr. Wyatt Brown wrote, Resilience and Creativity in Aging. Then on just the other day, last Monday in fact, in one of my travels across the city, I heard Hugh Mackay commending his latest book, which is called The Good Life, What Makes a Life Worth Living. Now, I don't mention any of these books or articles to suggest you should go out and buy them. On the contrary, if you are interested, you can get them from your library, no doubt. I mention them to give an added emphasis to this concern of ours today, a concern which has now been widely discussed. What are those things that make your life worth living? The things that you know, but you forget that you know. This last week, I've in fact given 3 speeches about my attempt to imitate and initiate a new project that could affect thousands of people. I'm trying to get the right name for it. I'm establishing a clinic for aging well. And I'm imitating in that George Vailant's work that he's done in his survey on older people. But no one has initiated a scheme to bring a clinical service to people in 2 age groups, 55 to 75 and 75 to 96. I suppose that's realistic in one sense because in the previous generation, we probably never reached this age. But we are reaching this age and beyond it. The 20 years ahead of you, wherever you are, how to age well in the face of the many stresses of this particular age group, the frustrations, the mind states that you did not have when you were 20 or 30 years of age. And the point is this: could we have prepared better for these later years, for these next 20 years? Could we have prepared for the things we did not think would happen to us? And what do you do when you know that something is missing? People can go on grizzling that something is missing, or they can simply sit back and say, well, that's life, it's missing, and there's not much you can do about it. Oh, yes, there might be something you could do about it. Is it all a matter of loss, or is it a particular loss that leaves us feeling, I need to discover a life worth living? In the last week, I've talked about this project, how it affects us all and affects us in different ways at different points of this part of the 55 to 76, 77 to 97. Or you could drop down, of course, to the 34 through to 54. Some years ago, 2 psychologists, Paul Costa and Robert McRae, introduced what has now come known as the 5 factors of personality. I've talked about them here. Openness, conscientiousness, outgoingness, agreeableness, neuroticism or negative orientation to life. Those points, if you take outgoingness to equal extroversion, they spell out ocean. I like to add 2 more, your inspirational qualities and your community engagement for a life worth living. So that spells out oceanic. Oceanic. When we come to consider, however, the next 20 years of your life, what do you most want? I'm going to explore a different 7. You might say, 7, how can we cope with 7? Oh, you will, because you'll recognize them. And they will play a big part in predicting your better future. If you have these 7 in place, they will predict a better future. They might even predict a longer future. I can't exactly promise that, but certainly a better future. Lose one of these, and you soon are in the zone of something is missing. Here they are, 7. I'll run them straight through and then I'll talk about them. To be affable, to be agreeable, to be adaptable, to be accepting, to be in the land of anticipation, achievement, and appreciation. There they are. Now follow with me. The person who is affable has a good sense of life's gifts, a good sense of self, a good sense of wanting to be expansive in mood and generosity, and they're likely to live longer. Compare that person with a disagreeable, disgruntled, and disharmonic person. The affable person and the agreeable person, much better to be around. So there are 2, the affable person, the agreeable person. Then I go to the 3rd one, the adaptable person. You see, how to be more adaptable, flexible. So often we can become so bound into our inflexibilities, our demands, nothing moves us. The opposite to being adaptable is to refuse to be adaptable. You can't roll with the realities. To be adaptable is to be alert to new ways of being. Central to the new faith that I advocate is to see Jesus holding up before everyone the possibility of a new being. Because we can get so easily stuck in our old beingness. A new way of being a human being. We need it. We need it. Being in a way that embraces a new self and a new relationship with life. The next one is difficult. It's about acceptance. You hear me use it frequently. We know that certain behavior is not acceptable. We know that certain people, mostly because of their behavior, are not accepted, not acceptable. In the past, we said that the person wasn't acceptable because they were the wrong colour, they were the wrong religion, they were the wrong race, or they didn't have equal economic status with us. These days, we're more likely to say it is because of your behaviour. How can you accept people whose behaviour is really unacceptable? So what is the mood of acceptance and rejection? Will you live longer if you are more accepting of people? Will you live a lesser life if you are into non-acceptance, rejecting everyone or critical people? There is no doubt that an accepting personality is different from a non-accepting personality. Yet the non-accepting personality may assume a higher platform. They might consider themselves on a higher moral ledge of rightness on a range of issues. There is a point where we all say, in order to retain our integrity or our sense of who we are, we must walk away from certain behaviours and indeed certain people. So we have to wrestle with this issue of acceptance, because the Bible says God accepts us and we are to accept others as he accepts us. That's not at all easy, and we have to think our way through as to how that can become a reality. The 5th one is about anticipation. The life of anticipation can be a life of looking forward, openness, readiness. Or it can be a life, of course, of anxiety. How many people suffer from what we call anticipatory anxiety? They're anticipating the worst. Something terrible is going to happen. So it can mean both things. It can mean animation or anxiety. It can mean a life of lightheartedness or heavy-heartedness. Which will help you live longer? Which will help you live a better life? To constructively and proactively choose environments that are healthy and enhancing, or to be locked into environments that we move away from and don't want to move forward. A life of anxiety. Number 6 is to develop a sense of achievement. Achievement. We all feel better when we know we've achieved some specific goals. They don't need to be the big goal, but some little goals. In fact, in the world of psychology, we talk about the psychology of small wins. That's achievement, and then celebrating your achievement. To be engaged in a good cause, and to enjoy that engagement. You know, I heard a recording of the actor Jack Nicholson talking to one of his colleagues, and he asked the question, in life, did you find joy? Did you bring joy to others? Very incisive questions for any one of us. Achievement. Did you achieve some joy? Did you help others achieve their joy? And the last one, appreciation. As we said on Mother's Day of all days, we talk about the importance of appreciation. It is the inward state of expansiveness. The woman who found what was missing called the people around her and she said, would you come and rejoice with me? I may not have found the full and final answer to everything, but I have recovered what I thought I most needed. I have recovered outwardly and inwardly something that has transformed my life. And I want you, she said, to be part of my transformation and to realize that if you look again, if you look diligently, if you look with expectancy and anticipation, you might find your transforming experience. So 7 things that are likely to predict your better future. Likely to. Try them anyway. 7 of the best aspects of your personality. 7 aspects of your personality that are surely the best. Your affableness. Compare it with disgruntlement. Your agreeableness compared with a disagreeable person. Your adaptability, your adapting qualities. Your resilience. Your acceptance and acceptingness. Your anticipation of the next phase of life. Make it the next 20 years if you like. Make it tomorrow. Your anticipation. Your achievement, even in little things. And to celebrate your achievements. And your personality that emanates appreciation. Appreciation, and that enhances the world and life by your smallest and most generous appreciation. Those 7 things. The woman in the parable realized she'd lost something. Something was missing in her life. The it that we frequently talk about. Have you found it? The it of her life was no longer there. But she went to find it. The search was on. And she searched until she found it. And then? No, instead of running off to her home and hiding it, she called everybody around her and she said, come on, rejoice with me. And as we rejoice, we find something more than we had before. Yes, some things you know. So don't forget what you know. Would you please stand? Say with me, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. And the blessing for this day. May the God you see in all the colours of creation arouse in you a sense of awe and wonder. May the God who is a sacred presence be real to you. May the God who is a source of inspiration and courage keep calling you forwards. May your God go with you and bless you today and always.